Welcome back, everybody, to Absolute BSS, the Casualpetitive show about Bandai Namco's Battle Spirits Saga. My name is Cameron.
And my name is Eric.
And I'm sorry that we didn't have the consistent upload like we have been. We've been basically uploading every week, and I was sick last week, so it is my fault. I take full responsibility. So I'm sorry that we're falling behind in spoiler season, but we're back today. We're going to be looking at the green cards that have been spoiled, but before that, Eric recently played in a store championship, and I would love to hear how that went. Like, we haven't actually talked about it because I'm like, wait, let's save it for the podcast so I can really hear about it. So I'm very excited to hear this.
Yeah. First of all, everyone send in your hate mail for Cam for being sick. Everyone needs to send in their hate mail.
Yep.
AbsoluteBSSpod@gmail.com.
That's right. That's that's the one.
All right, that's the one. That's where you need to send it. So, Store Champs. I had a lot of fun. It was a blast. I love playing this game in person. As much as I love the tabletop simulator mod that you and I practice on all the time, there is just something so nice about moving the little plastic cores around and just like turning cards sideways. It's so much fun. Store Champs though, so my record was actually not that great, but we had a pretty small turnout. So I think I honestly don't know exactly where I ended up at the end. I think I ended up in like third place, but it was only out of like 5 people. So it doesn't really matter that much. But my matchups, I'm so glad that we play tested so much against purple, because 2 out of my 3 games that I played that day were against purple. So very first game went up against a Maduke purple deck, like a purple curse. It was a real interesting one, going back and forth. Their curse creatures were just taking out my stuff left and right. I tried to use Burning Force as much as I could. Really, what sealed the deal for me on that game was Axe Spider. So
Axe Spider, that's the one.
Axe Spider came in clutch. Has the purple and yellow armor, and then also it can't be destroyed by destroyed effects or by battle when it's level 2. So it really shut down their curse strat. So definitely. Oh yeah, and I guess I'll mention as well, the deck I was playing was this white-red or pink, if you will. Kind of a mid-range, a little aggro, but more like mid-range, I'd say. And it was just a fun little homebrew that I put together. The whole idea with it was just to have this sort of toolbox that I could read into and have all of these different options, lots of one-of cards to deal with lots of different situations. And it did do that, but I will say having a multicolored deck with this limited card pool is pretty challenging. I have seen some purple-white decks that have managed to do that pretty well and do very well at events, but white-red, it was difficult. The cost reduction was really not there, and that screwed me over sometimes.
Real quick, when you say like dual color decks, what's the split that you're talking about? Because we usually, we've seen lists that have won online, and we talk about putting like splash cards in. But like when you say dual color, what's your ratio there from white to red?
Like 50-50.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So that does kind of make sense. That would, depending on your draw power, kind of muck up your hand every now and then.
Yeah. I think my final list was like 29 white cards, 21 red cards. Okay. So it was like pretty close to 50-50. It leaned a little more heavily into white, and then the red, a lot of the red was the magic, but there was also like Bearded Eagle and Vajranoceros and a few other like just strong like beater cards.
Yeah, to come in and go a little wide if you have the opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, like I throw down the Axe Spider to protect myself, and they're like, oh, he's playing a white deck. And then I throw down Bearded Eagle, and they're like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah, which that definitely goes a long way in itself, just being able to surprise your opponent like that.
Yeah, every game that I played, whether I won or lost, my opponent was very shocked by my deck.
I love that.
So I did take the win on the first round. Second round, something really interesting happened, which is the organizers of our tournament. I gotta say, we got shoved to the side a little bit because the new Magic the Gathering Lord of the Rings set came out. And I get it, because there were probably like 50 to 70 people in this store for that.
Yeah.
It was absolutely packed. And they stuck us in this like side room with the Yu-Gi-Oh players. We were like the rejects.
That's really funny.
But so we didn't really get the full attention I think that we needed to run a store championship, but it was whatever. But so second round we found out that we were actually supposed to be doing best of 3 and not best of 1.
Oh.
So second round I actually played against our buddy Angel.
There we go.
And he was also running his purple deck. And man, first game, he just absolutely smoked me. And then we found out that we were supposed to be doing best of 3. So we had already started playing a second game for fun. So we were both like, I guess this is game 2 without sideboarding. And I ended up winning that one. And so we had to go to game 3.
Wow.
And oh man, it was so close. We both just had all of these spirits on the board facing off. Both of us were like terrified to swing in because we were both at 3 life. And then we went to time. And so we had to finish out the game, but then we ended at the same amount of life. And that's when I learned that a tiebreaker when you're both on the same amount of life is who has the most cards in their deck. And so we counted out the cards in our deck. Angel had more cards than me, so it went to him.
So does that mean
Pretty
cards
crazy.
left in the deck at that time, or total cards at the start of the game?
Left in your deck at that time.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So his deck, we're actually going to have Angel on the podcast at some point soon, and he'll probably talk about this exact deck. So I don't want to give away too much. But,
Yeah.
he does run more than 50, and I don't think he did not know about this tiebreaker. So at the time, it just kind of worked out that way in his favor. I think he had 35 cards and I had 33. And we realized that a key moment in the game is that he killed my Namengard elephant and I drew 3 cards. And if he wouldn't have done that, I would have beaten him by 1 card.
Wow, what a crazy series then. I
Yeah.
love when you get to play against a buddy like that and it comes down to just some like 1 turn kind of difference. That feels really cool. It feels very much like in the spirit of all these card game anime shows.
We were in the battle spirit.
That's right.
And then I'll spare the details on the last one. I went up against mono white control, and actually this crazy thing did happen the way that the game ended. They had built up a double elk board.
Wow.
But I had managed to get really aggressive with my red spirits, but then they drew into Absolute Ice Shield. They shielded when I swung in, and then they double elked me for the win. 'Cause the way that elk works is, so if your opponent doesn't damage your life, then your elk makes them move a core from their life into their reserve, or maybe their trash. Can't remember which, but the way that it works with Ice Shield is that it doesn't, because Ice Shield puts the life back, the elk does not recognize that you lost life. So essentially, Ice Shield plus elk equals automatic elk trigger, and they had 2 on the board and I had 2 life left, and that's how I lost.
That is brutal.
Yeah.
I wonder if there are going to be cards in the future that affect your opponent's set burst card.
I think there definitely will be.
There has to be, right?
There has to be. And I wonder how that'll play out. Like, does everyone just have to respect that their burst could get removed? Do you just start playing with like your burst in your hand, like Ice Shield in your hand, and like not setting it?
Right. Which Angel has done before. We talked to him about that psychology, and maybe moving forward that is kind of the move.
Yeah, he's done that to me. Him and I were playtesting as so we'll have him on later to talk about this, but he ended up going to a grand open this past weekend in Ohio, which is
made the top
super exciting.
25%, I think, if my math is correct.
Yeah, he did really well. I I'm really excited to hear about all of his matchups.
Yeah, me
But
too.
one thing that he did as we were training for that, leading up to that, was he did sometimes just hold back the ice shield, and you had like you would swing in, get really aggressive, and then he'd flash in the ice shield, and you're like, oh, crap.
Yeah,
I had
it's
no idea that you had that.
a really big brain move there
Yeah.
that I
Yeah,
never
I
would have
mean,
done.
you don't get the life back, but you still end the battle after that battle ends, or you
Yeah.
end the attack step after that battle ends. And so, like, if somebody doesn't think that's going to happen and they're all in, you just leave them wide open.
Yeah, that's yeah, very very cool. Something that I'm gonna have to look at a little more often, especially because I only own one ice shield in my whole collection. So when I use that card, it has to be very thought out and
Yeah.
important and pivotal. So
You have no other choice but to make big brain moves with it.
exactly. So I'm keeping that one in my toolkit in the back of my mind.
Sweet. Well, I will say, even though I didn't place like first place or anything, it was still a lot of fun. Angel actually ended up getting second, so that was super cool.
Yeah.
I wasn't really too bummed about it. There wasn't really much at stake. I still got my store champ packs, and I got like some cool alt art cards. I got a sword angel, which is pretty sick.
That is cool. I love that.
Yeah, so all around fun time. Wish you
hell
wish
yeah.
you could have been there. It would have been a lot of fun.
I know, me too. I missed that one, and then obviously I missed the Ohio tournament. But yeah, I'm hoping to get out to some more events too, play physically, like we were talking about. Because yeah, we played a couple of nights ago, which is going to kind of segue into our green conversation. I got some new cards in the mail. I went on TCG Player. It's the very first game I've ever bought singles for, besides Yu-Gi-Oh! Back when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And so I was like really pumped. I'm like, let me put some new cards together. Let me play some decks that I can legally build. And then you
Yes.
were play testing some of the new set 2 cards, and that included a lot of these green ones that we're going to be talking about today. And it was a
Yeah.
lot of fun matchups, really, really fun. I have my version of the purple mid-range deck that is, making the rounds and doing really, really crazy things with Baculus, the Earth Spider Demon, and the Infernal Curse Dragon, which actually, I don't think in either of those games I even pulled the dragon, but Baculus was putting in a lot of work.
Baculus can do a lot just on his own.
Yeah. And then my Fabled Beast deck right now, the way that it stands is it's got 3 copies of Alice, 3 copies of the Behemoth, and 3 copies of Naumengard, and some fun spell stuff in there, and it performed really well for me. Like I think I'm gonna swap out the Pegasus now that I have 2 copies of Dual Eagle. And
That makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, other than that, like, I like where it's at. It's gonna be easily editable once the second set comes out. Just swap out a few cards here and there for some better ones,
Well,
like
you gotta put
Clockadile.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I may put up like maybe something on our Twitter, like a picture of that deck list that I'm running right now, and it's obviously borrowed from some higher competing decks, but I really love hearing about Yellow Fabled Beast doing some good stuff, and I love playing yellow, and I can't get away from it.
The winner of our store championship was a 2-cost yellow deck.
That's right. That's what you said. I could have been there. I could have been right up with them.
That could have been you. You never know. Yeah, I like the Namengard in yellow, actually.
It's fun.
I had not thought of that. It never even crossed my mind until we saw that like tournament list, and then you were like, I'm just going to try that out.
Yeah, I put 3 of those big old elephants in there, and they helped me stay alive and then turn the tide of the game at one point. Nothing left on board, only a couple cards in hand. As soon as the elephant died, I drew 3 cards, was able to pull into a flash spell that could take out a card. I think it was Core Theft I drew into. Which is also pretty interesting in yellow. But yeah, it's fun. It's really fun. So we've been playing. Our buddies have been playing in some higher level stuff. So we're having fun with Battle Spirit Saga. Very close to Elemental Spark that's coming out this Friday. And of course, the second set coming out in July 28th, I believe. So we're gonna shift focus here, start talking about these green spoiled cards that you can find at Battle Spirit Saga on Twitter. They've been having a blast. Or I guess it's at BSS_TCG. But they've been releasing a lot of these spoilers, and I'm very, very excited to look at green, especially after playing against some of these green cards. So do you want to kick it off, Eric?
Yeah, let's start things off.
Let's talk about it.
All right. Let's start things off strong with Fluffmingo.
Mm-hmm.
Fluffmingo is a 2-cost, 1 reduction prey bird. It's green, as you were saying. All of the cards we're going to be talking about today, maybe not all of them, but
maybe
all the
not
ones
all
that we're going to be reading,
yes,
are going to be green. We may reference some other colors. In fact, I know I will.
Yeah.
So Fluffmingo, 2-cost, 1 reduction, prey bird, spirit, level 1, 3,000, level 2, 5,000, and that's for 1 core and 3 cores, respectively. And it's just a regular textless spirit. I think that this is a really solid textless spirit. It has the same stats, slightly different stats, but almost the same stats as Bullet Ray from white.
Is it better than Bullet Ray?
Bullet Ray is 1 and 2.
Ah, okay.
So slightly not as good. So Bullet Ray is 1 core for 3k at level 1, and then 2 cores for 5k at level 2.
Okay.
So Bullet Ray is slightly better, but I still think this is really good. I think it's if you draw this opening hand and maybe you lost the dice roll, you have to go first. I think you still want to see this.
Yeah, Fluffmingo is a really good green opener. I'm gonna assume that this is better in a full green deck, or at least mostly green deck, than Splash. But the 2-cost is great. I could see slotting one of these or a couple of these. Like if I'm really going for 2-cost rainbow aggro, it's Flamefish, Bullet Ray, and Fluffmingo for me.
Yeah, I think if you're splashing, you might as well just play the Bullet Ray.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a pretty cool card. Texas, like we said, Prey Bird is an interesting trait that I'm excited to see more of.
Yeah. That's really all I have to say about it, actually. So if you want to talk about our next Prey Bird, speaking of.
Yes, this one has really cool art. This is Shrike. This is a 5-cost, can be reduced by 3, Prey Bird Green Spirit card. It's just a Samurai Sparrow looking kind of thing.
He looks so cool. I really like him. Sorry to cut you off, but
you're fine.
You remember the Yu-Gi-Oh card Hayabusa Knight?
Yes, I do.
That was one of my absolute favorite cards, and this card reminds me of that card so much because it was like a samurai bird.
Yeah. I love it.
I love it.
I love
Great
it
art.
so much. Very good art. Interesting stats and abilities here. So this is, again, 5 reduced by 3. At level 1 for 1 core, it's only 2k. At level 2 for 3 cores, it's 4k. But it has Flash, Swift. So you can summon this card from your hand by using cores from your reserve to pay its cost and place cores onto it. So we're seeing the Prey Birds get that Swift for the most part. Of course, the Leaf Wolf... Yeah, it makes sense, right?
It makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, they're swooping in. And at level 1 and 2, when summoned, so that's either during your turn or during a flash window, you can select one of your opponent's exhausted spirits and reduce its BP by 2,000 during the turn. So that's not bad.
Yeah, so obviously Swift is going to make this card quite usable. 3 reduction is pretty big because you can play this for 2 cores and potentially have like a 4k blocker, which is nice. Do you think that the 2,000 BP reduction is more for just changing up the numbers, almost like a magic spell, like a magic card, or do you think it's more to like kill little dudes? Like how do you see yourself using this?
I think more often than not, this is just going to be, I'm going to flash this in and I'm going to reduce your guy that has a little less cores on it so that it can't keep attacking this turn. And then next turn I'll have another body. Like when I start my turn, I'll have a body on the field. That's kind of where I'm looking at it. I don't know. I mean, obviously, if you're yellow against green, this can kill one of your little guys. But I don't think it's as impactful at a 5-cost to specifically be anti-yellow. So I don't know how I feel about Shrike right now.
Yeah, yeah. There for as far as like little reduction, like for the same amount. I know this is a different color, but for 5 cost, you could play Leon, which
Yeah.
kills everything.
Yeah, and it doesn't have the
It's not-
stipulation of exhausted spirits, but you can't flash
yeah,
Leon in. So I understand.
that's true.
I, I understand it. I wish Shrike was a 4 reduced by 2 with these
Yeah.
stat lines, but we'll see. You know, I don't know all the Prey Bird support yet, but that's my first impression of this guy.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to say because we've been playtesting with Swift.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see. We have not yet tested like a full-on like all Swift mono green deck.
No, we've
we've-
only mirror matched the starter, and
Uh-huh.
then you've splashed some green.
Yeah, for like the really well-statted Swift spirits. So I'm interested to see if maybe like an all Swift deck would be something maybe that this could slot in a little bit easier to.
I agree. Maybe tailoring a Swift deck to really get the point across.
Yeah.
Speak now or forever hold your prey birds. Doing Taylor Swift puns. Don't mind me. All right, you want to take this next prey bird, which I think I'm gonna like a lot more.
Yeah. This guy's expensive, but he does some pretty impressive stuff. This is Onyx Bird Yada Gloss. Once again reminding me of cards from Yu-Gi-Oh! Like Yatagarasu.
Yes.
Which maybe that is Yatagarasu like the can't think of the word exactly, but the like Japanese pronunciation of Yada Gloss. Is that like Yatagarasu?
Oh, I bet it is.
Maybe that's like the same thing.
I think so because I've been playing Shin Megami Tensei 5 a lot, and you know, all the Persona games and Shin Megami Tensei game and Soul Hackers games use a lot of the same monster groups that are based on like different folklore, different demons, and all this different stuff. But like Yatagarasu is one that
like,
shows up.
like giant penis demons.
Yeah.
Dragging carts behind them. You know.
Yeah, exactly. So this reminds me of like a monster from Shin Megami Tensei or Persona 5, which is called Yatagarasu. So that's probably exactly what this is. It's just like direct translation and, you know, not using the full name. But I'm starting to notice a lot of those overlaps in Bandai Namco games, especially. Like,
I bet if we knew more
interesting.
about Japanese mythology and stuff, this would be like the equivalent of like pulling in like Medusa or something. You know.
yes, right. Which Maduke is Medusa. You know, like that's
yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
there's a lot of like
I didn't make that
s-
connection till just now.
Yeah, I'm making a lot of these connections as I like play games like Yokai Watch and Persona and Shin Megami Tensei. It's funny. So sorry
Not
for
to
that
take
little
this-
tangent.
Well, not to take us even further off the rails, but I want to mention really quick: Persona 4 Golden is $14.99 right now on the PlayStation Store. So
Dang.
check it out, people.
Yeah.
Persona games are great. Anyways, Onyx Bird Yada Gloss. 4 cost, 2 reduction, Prey Bird Spirit. Level 1 for 1 core, 2,000 BP. Level 2 for 4 cores, 4,000 BP. Level 3 for 8 cores. So that's a lot of cores. 8,000 BP. So, the abilities on this thing. At all 3 levels, when it attacks, you can select one of your Carapace or Insectoid spirits, destroy it, and place a core from the void onto this spirit. So maybe that's a way that it gets all the way up to 8. And at level 3, so at 8 cores, while it attacks, when a core is placed onto this spirit, your opponent selects 2 of their refreshed spirits, exhaust them.
Man.
This is a big bird.
This is very interesting. We don't often see these like lower cost cards go all the way up to level 3 and with, you know, that much cores on them. But
Yeah.
this one feels a little more feasible, and we're going to be talking about more Carapace and Insectoid spirits later on. So I'd like to come back to this at the end. I think this might be my a card for a certain segment we're going to do, but I need to know how the rest of them work, because really my only like reference to the Insectoids or the Carapaces right now are Groon and just that ant soldier or whatever. So
Yeah.
Groon tends to have a lot of cores on him. You could use him, and then he throws cores over to another creature anyway. So
Yeah,
then if Prey Bird
put,
kills the rest of them and gets up to level 3 and does that, like, you could exhaust 2 things and attack for free. It's interesting. I don't know.
yeah, Groon could swing in and then place his cores onto this, and then this could kill Groon, which would not trigger his ability, which is kind of unfortunate, but
that's probably why.
yeah. And yeah, the fact that this card exists is probably why Groon specifies that he has to be destroyed by an opponent. But I have a question about this card, and I don't know if either of us can even answer this question, but maybe you have thoughts. Does the level 3 ability trigger if the core that's placed onto Yatagloss to get it to level 3 occurs from the first ability?
That's also what I don't know. So let's say, yeah, for example, Onyx Bird Yatagloss out here with 5 cores on it, level 2, 4,000. Mm-hmm. When it attacks, it's level 2, but you select one of your Carapace or Insectoid spirits, destroy it, place a core from the void onto this spirit. Oh, okay, so let's say it's at 7. It does the first attack and first ability. It becomes an 8. Would then, while this spirit attacks, when a core is placed onto this spirit, because it becomes level 3, does it get that ability? I have no idea.
Well, you know what? I think maybe the answer is the difference between when versus WoW.
Yeah. Oh, that's a very good point.
Because the first ability says it triggers upon the attack being initiated. The second one just says the whole time it's attacking.
Right. So that includes flash windows for like that little spell where you can put a core from the void onto a card. So you could also do it that way, that core growth or whatever that card is.
Yeah. Man, there's going to be a whole section in the FAQ about this card.
I think so, which is interesting. But yeah, so
I'm just dumb. I don't know.
Once we get clarification, I think this could be a really good card. But yeah, I'm not sure how to answer that question yet. Multiple cores is the spell I was thinking of. 2 cost, 1 reduction, magic burst. When opponent resolves a spirit's one summon effect, you can select one of your opponent's spirits and exhaust it, and then play its main cost. Oh, so it's not a flash. Never mind.
Oh, okay.
That doesn't even work.
Well, we'll figure this card.
Yeah.
I definitely think this card could be good. I just, like you said, I think I need to figure it out, which I like that. I like a nice little puzzle.
I do too. It's fun for deck building, and that really scratches an itch as a Keyforge player, like being able to deck build and think about these scenarios and these like magical lining up of the stars, like, oh, if Groon attacks and then puts 3 cores on Onyx Bird, then Onyx Bird attacks, it gets up to 8, and then it gets to do this. Like, that's really fun for me. Yeah. So I'd like to come back to Onyx Bird for sure.
Well, let's move on to the next one.
Let's do it.
Because we got some more Prey Birds to talk about.
Yeah, we do. This is the big one. This is the X-Rare Prey Bird, Eternal Phoenix Tokiwa. 7 cost, can be reduced by 4. Again, this is a green Prey Bird spirit. At level 1, for 1 core, it has 5,000 BP. At level 2, for 3 cores, it has 8,000. And at level 3, for 5 cores, it has 11,000, which is not bad. That's a good stat line, especially for your X-Rare, especially for a new color. This thing seems really neat. And maybe these abilities might make it sound niche, but I think it also works on its own. But just in case, there's some cool stuff here. So at level 1, 2, and 3, passively at all times, this spirit gains 10,000 BP if your opponent controls a Void Lord spirit, which we've briefly touched on.
As I was reading this, my eyes grew very large and then shrunk again as I got to the end of the sentence. It's like, wait a minute, what?
So
what's going on?
It's very conditional that this thing would buff up 10k, but it is an answer to Void Lords, which, if you're going to introduce cards like the Void Lords, you have to have these answers. And so that's what we're kind of talking about in the last episode. So I love seeing this card because I think it's good as a green, but then it's also good in that edge case, like your opponent is playing Exodia. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, if they're playing those big Void Lord, if somebody's playing your King Charles Void Lord deck that you were talking
I'm
about.
gonna build it.
Yeah.
I need to just mess around with that on BSS Dev because these cards
Yeah,
are up
let's
now.
do it. Yeah, why not?
But yeah, so that's the passive 1, 2, and 3. At level 2 and 3, so 3 cores and up, when this spirit attacks, your opponent selects one of their refreshed spirits, exhaust it. So your opponent gets the choice, but that's still really cool.
That's just straight up utility.
It is. Exhaustion is great.
Yeah.
This thing's, it can start doing that when it has 8k at least. Like, that's pretty powerful. And then at level 3, so 5 cores and up, you may remove all but 3 cores from this spirit and place them into your reserve to refresh it when this spirit attacks. So basically, you tilt it. You're like, I'm attacking with this. It's 5k, but I'm going to remove all but 3 cores. So during this attack, it's 8k, but then I'm going to stand it. Is that right?
It'll be 11k, and then it'll drop down to 8k, right?
When, though? Like before that first attack?
Oh, when the spirit attacks, you remove all but... Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So you have to have it level 3 before you declare the attack to get the refresh.
Yeah.
But and you're sacrificing 3k to make it to do that. But what you're doing is throwing cores into your reserve. So this is kind of a cool. It's a May. It's utility. Like this Phoenix is a Swiss Army knife because you don't have to do that. You can attack it as 11k. But if your opponent's side of the field is already lowered, or if it's level 2, level 3 attack, exhaust their only creature, you're gonna use the remove all but 3 cores, hit once for life, and attack again for life, and you could flash in something to attack again for life. I think this is a really cool card, and so far, if I was going to build a mono green deck, it's these Prey Birds with some Carapace support. Eternal Phoenix is neat.
Yeah, seems pretty solid. I definitely like cards that just passively do good stuff while it's already a good card.
Yeah. I also think Namco is a perfect card in green decks as well.
Yeah, you could really...
Swift decks.
Yeah, well, oh yeah, because then you get those cores, and then you just swift stuff in, and you also can refresh.
Yep. So
at the end,
even if it dies on your opponent's turn, you're still getting 3 cores from the void into your reserve. That's enough to flash in most of your green swifts. And then if you have it and it attacks during your turn, before you even go into your opponent's turn, you're getting that extra refresh step, and you can just bring in the hordes. It's cool. I'm like already theory crafting here with the Prey Birds and the Namco. I love this Eternal Phoenix card.
Yeah, I think even if Eternal Phoenix doesn't fit into your deck for some reason, if you're playing green and Void Lords become a thing, I think you're going to want this in your sideboard.
Yeah, but I still argue that if green is your primary color here, at 7 cost 4 reduction with that stat line and that growth, I'm throwing this in.
It's
every time.
Still just a solid card. You're right.
And it exhausts. It exhausts things.
Yeah, yeah. Even if you're going for like, a totally different build, like these insects we're about to get into, I still think it fits.
Yeah. Well, let's great transition there. Wait. Oh, I guess this next one is a Prey Bird. You want me to?
Yeah, we have one more Prey Bird here. This is on my OG Kingfisher. On me OG.
Fun fact: Kingfishers are my favorite birds.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So you're a big fan of this guy.
I think this guy is super cool.
The art is really neat. I like how it's almost this like very what's the word I'm looking for? It's almost like a watercolor painting.
Yeah.
Like old style, like Japanese style painting.
It kind of looks like this could come out of Legend of the Five Rings.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's neat. It's very, very pretty cool. Pretty card.
So this is a 4 cost 2 reduction. It's our last Prey Bird here. Spirit level 1 3k for 1 core, level 2 6k for 5 cores. That's a pretty drastic difference between level 1 and level 2. It has one ability, which is Swift. So you can summon it at flash speed from your hand by using cores from your reserve to pay its cost and place cores onto it.
I like him. A lot of these Swift cards, the way they're balanced to be able to bring them in a flash window, is that usually their level 2 is ridiculously high. But that's not what you're looking for with Swift anyway. You're either Swifting in a chump blocker or you're Swifting in a body for your next turn. So that's fine for me. I think I would still slot in a couple copies of this.
Yeah, I can see this. I mean, if you have the cores for it, having a 6k blocker out of nowhere is pretty good.
Yeah, like a desperation play, or Naumengard leaves and you don't have much left, you can bring this guy in and cover a lot of stuff. So
yeah, I do want to mention, I want to mention this before we get too far away. Back to Onyx Bird Yachtigloss really quick.
Yes.
I read the flavor text on this card, and I just thought it was really beautiful. It was almost like a poem.
Yeah, I agree. I thought this flavor text was good.
First to spot the Void Lord was a black crow flying over the ocean waves.
It is snowing on Mount Fuji.
Yeah, it feels like a haiku. It's really cool. Is it a haiku? No, it's not enough. But, yeah, I just was like, oh, that's really pretty. I like that. And it really fits the theme of the prey birds.
I agree. I really like birds. As you could probably tell by me just saying casually, fun fact, my favorite bird is kingfisher. Wingspan, great game. I love birds, man. And so like birds and card games are usually really cool. Like Digimon has really good bird lines, like the Garudamon, Phoenix, all that stuff.
Well, I think thematically the birds are pretty tight. Like the Swift ability, and I know it's not restricted just to the birds, but the Swift ability on the birds is cool.
Yep.
Like thematically just fits them so well. I really like it.
I agree. All right. So this next one, we're getting into the Carapace groups. So these are going to be
in the air.
Yes.
And now we're going into the ground.
We're going into the hive, baby. Get your hive mind caps on, because these I think are gonna be kind of like floody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This will be interesting. I'm excited to hear how these all work, because again, I've been avoiding these spoilers for green.
You're in for a treat.
I'm so excited. So this is
a really gross insect treat.
Yes, I love it. Because yeah, again, I don't love bugs as much as I love birds, but typically they have some cool mechanics in card games. Like I used to do a perfectly great moth Yu-Gi-Oh deck, blah blah blah. Weevil Underworld.
Oh, that's always fun.
So the first Carapace we've got here is a 2-cost, reduced by 1, Emerant Man. It's a Carapace Spirit, level 1 for 1 core, it has 1,000. And level 2 for 3 cores, it's 3,000. And it's got a similar effect to something we've seen before in Gruen. When destroyed by opponent, very important there, place a core from the void into your reserve. So it's ramp. You know, it's a chump block. Your opponent's not going to want to throw in and accidentally destroy these things. It's not going to want to burning force all your Emerant Mans because you get to ramp. This is such a cool card.
Yeah, I dig it. Yeah, that was my immediate thought. I was like, oh yeah, go ahead and burning force this. Like, go for it. Like, please.
Yeah, I might throw Emerant Mans into my 2-cost Fabled Beast stack because it ramps.
It's not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea.
2 costs. It's got 1 reduction, so it's not even like you're missing out on much.
Exactly. I think, you know, and all my yellow 2-cost cards can tutor this. So it's not like I'm getting something not as good as one of my other cards. Like it's just a neat little thing. Like Ervata can trigger this and pull it out of your discard pile. Prince Pentan can see it on top of your deck, and Friezatal recognizes when it gets destroyed. So I think there's a lot of utility inside and outside of green with Emerant Man.
That's actually Friezatal makes this card bonkers, because like you just put 1 core on this little ant and then you swing in, and now your opponent has to decide
yeah, do
I take a hit to my life or do I let you draw a card and ramp?
Yeah. That's nuts. Friezatal says during either attack step. So that means if it gets destroyed by your opponent, draw a card when one of your spirits that cost 2 is destroyed in battle, and then you get that core from the void into your reserve. It's ludicrous.
I think the correct answer there is almost always going to be to block it, but man, does that feel bad.
Right. Right. Feels really bad. Flooding the board with these little Emerant mans. Oh, I love it.
Well, you're going to like this next guy. Ant-Man General.
Whoa, we're seeing tokens? Sorry for the spoiler there.
Yeah.
Oh, baby.
We are. Have you seen the other tokens in this set or no?
I've not.
Okay, I'm not going to spoil it then. There's other cards that give you tokens besides the ants.
Okay, I'm going to have to go looking.
Yeah. Don't look right now.
Man. No. This is... Oh, man. Now I'm way more excited about these than the Prey Birds.
Yeah.
Already
Ant
2
token.
cards in. I'm into it. Okay, go for it. Sorry.
Ant-Man General is a 3-cost 2 reduction Carapaite.
Beautiful.
Level 1 for 1 core, 1,000. Level 2 for 2 cores, 3,000. So pretty small stats here, but
OP.
He's mighty in other ways. Level 1 and 2, when summoned, you get to summon one of your Ant-Man tokens. So this is going to be a green 0-cost Carapaite token with a level 1 of BP 1000.
And so tokens need the cores.
Yes, so you do have to put 1 core onto the token to keep it alive at BP 1000.
Yes, and it comes in exhausted. And token cards come from outside the game. Place cores onto them from either your field or your reserve. Very cool.
Yep. It's just like summoning. It's almost as if when you play Ant-Man General, you're also playing at the same time a 0-cost ant token that comes in exhausted.
I love that the physical card game space. I'm going to try not to go on too much of a tangent, but I love that like the ideas that have been introduced in digital card games over the last few years are now being introduced in physical games in such a cool way. Keyforge is doing tokens. You just play the top card of your deck face down. Each deck is assigned a token, so that card is that token. And Shadowverse Evolve, which is getting an English release later this weekend, has a lot of these tokens that come into an area called the EX area, which is basically just like in the digital game, it would create tokens that go into your hand. So that's public information. So in this game, you just load them up in this EX area and you can summon them from there. And so like it's that really neat thing of like, how do we make it feel like you're just animating something out of the ether and putting it in here that doesn't have to be in your main deck? And this is a really great way to do that. And I'm just super into it lately about all these games that are feeling like digital games, but in a physical space. Because like you even said at the top of the show, playing physically, like in person with someone is always going to be better and more fun, in my opinion, than playing digitally. So getting those digital elements in a physical game only increases the creativity and the fun of a game like this. So I'm really excited to see tokens in set 2.
Yeah, the other reason I like, you were talking about creativity, the other way that you can get creative with tokens, other than just in your deck building, is I love that you don't have to play like official tokens for stuff. So I'm definitely gonna like be searching around on Etsy or maybe even making something myself to make like fun little ant tokens.
Yeah, Magic always has really fun creators on Etsy making token cards. And that's really fun. And, I guess Magic has been doing that for a long time, like tokens. But still, I just, man, yeah, it's super fun.
So we're going to have anime waifu ant tokens, is what you're saying.
Yes. Oh, my gosh. My gosh, dude.
Just like you've always wanted.
I'm going down such a rabbit hole lately, dude, with all this stuff. All these games are killing me.
Yeah, well, we do have an ant waifu. Speaking of which, if you want to move
we do?
We do.
Oh my gosh! Queen Antrain, step on me. Oh my gosh.
Are we going to have to move this podcast to an explicit section or something?
It actually technically is explicit because we say shit like shit, but...
Because we say shit like fucking damn and ass?
We're going off the rails.
Yeah, I'm not even drinking. All
Me
right,
neither.
Sorry, keep going.
I know, I love this. I'm so distracted by Queen Antrain. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, she is the X-Rare Carapaite card that we've got in this group. 9 cost, can be reduced by 5. Very beautiful. Carapace green spirit here.
Beautiful, lovely queen.
This is exactly what I wanted, though, when I heard about these ant creatures, and then I was like, ant tokens, and then a queen, obviously. So, level 1 for 1 core. Let me calm down a little bit. 6K. Level 2 for 4 cores, 12,000 BP, baby. Level 1,
solid.
that is really solid. Level 1 and level 2, when summoned, summon 2 of your Ant-Man tokens. Again, token spirit, green, 0 cost, Carapace token, level 1 for 1 core, 1,000 BP. That's when summoned. You get to bring in 2 of those tokens. During your attack step at level 2, when one of your spirits is destroyed, select one of your opponent's spirits and exhaust it. So you're throwing in the little worker ants.
Yep.
Praying for a chump block, and then you get to exhaust more of your opponent's spirits. And if they don't chump block, your little worker ants are chipping life away for nothing. And that is awesome. Queen Ant Train rules. In the flavor text is kind of funny too. The average lifespan for a queen was 10 years. A city excavated for 2 years would be abandoned a mere 8 years later. Wow. I love this card. I'm gonna do the token thing. That's what I'm about to do with Shadowverse when it comes out. I'm gonna play Forestcraft and do fairy tokens. Now I'm gonna build Carapace deck and BSS and just do the same thing.
Yeah, this deck seems really fun. My only problem with it, and we'll see how big of a problem this really is I almost feel like it's building itself, which is not a bad thing, but I just am like, I wonder how obvious all of the card choices are for this, because it's starting to feel,
Yeah, that's
pretty
super
obvious.
fair. That's super fair.
Which is kind of fun though.
I think so, because then it all
Yeah.
comes down to, like, even if it is a toolkit of 40 of the same cards for everyone who's doing Queen Ant Train decks, what are those other 10? Like, are you putting in Storm Leon? Are you putting in those Burning Forces? Are you putting in whatever? Like, are you leaning into some Swift with your green? Are you leaning into Ramp? Are you leaning into buffing a wide amount of creatures? Do you put Wonderland Alice in this deck? I don't know.
I have a nasty idea.
What's that?
You put in Netherworld Depths, and then if they block, then you draw a card.
Oh, and then you're just swifting cards in. Oh my gosh.
Or
That's an
if they
expensive tech card, but that is hilarious.
What if you have Netherworld Depths and the Queen, and you have an Emerant Man, and you swing in? If they block it, you get a core and you draw a card, and one of their things gets exhausted.
That's nuts. Dude, that's so dirty.
Yeah, or if they don't block it, then they just took life from a spirit with 1,000 BP, which is kind of
That feels bad.
that feels really bad.
Oh my gosh.
One other key detail here. So I thought this was just part of the tokens, but I think it might just be something to do with Ant-Man General in specific. General specific. His token comes in exhausted. The Queen doesn't say anything about the tokens coming in exhausted.
Oh, you're right. Hers do not come in exhausted.
Yeah.
Good call. Good catch there.
So
my queen.
Hers come in, and if she's level 2, which, I mean, it's only 4 cores to make her 12k, so I think you're doing it.
Queen.
Like, I think you're almost always... I mean, I guess you might be... She does cost 9, but she has 5 reduction. Like,
Yeah.
I think if you're at a point in the game where you have enough to reduce her by 5, you probably have enough cores to, like, just throw her down at level 2, but...
Well, think about her with Groon. You summon her, keep her at level 1, and you use those extra cores in your reserve to keep those tokens alive. Groon attacks, throws 3 over to Antrain, and now she's level 4. Oh, wait, no, that's not how that works. I'm sorry. I always forget that. Groon puts them in the reserve to give power to another creature. He doesn't move the cores.
No, he doesn't move the cores. Yeah.
So never mind. I'm sorry. Forget that. I got too excited.
You did just make me realize something, though, is that anything that summons tokens has an additional cost to it equal to the number of tokens it summons.
It does. It does.
So she doesn't actually cost 9. She really costs 11.
Right.
I mean, unless you don't care about the tokens and you just let them go away.
Right. But that trade-off, too, is... 3 bodies coming out on 1 card, and yeah, definitely makes sense to me, but
yeah.
Whew, man.
Next card, another Carapace this one's not as exciting, but maybe necessary for the deck. It's a Fire Ant-Man, and it's a 1 cost, no reduction here, just single, just 1 cost always. Carapace, level 1, 1 core for 1k, level 2, 4 core, or level 2, 2 cores for 4k. And it's just a regular old ant spirit.
I love this
Doesn't
card.
do anything.
I love this card. Ant-Man tokens, Fire Ant-Man's Queen. You got 9 creatures on the board. You swing, swing, swing. You need Absolute Ice Shield. I love this deck.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun deck, and I think maybe the next time we play, we should play test some ant builds.
Oh yeah, I'm already daydreaming.
You're already
wait.
scheming over there.
I'm scheming. All right. So this next one is Worker Ant-Man. So a 3 cost, reduced by 2, Carapace, Green Spirit. Level 1 for 1 core, it has 2,000 BP. Level 2 for 2 cores, it has 4,000. And when the spirit attacks, place a core from the void into your reserve if this spirit has a soul core on it. Come on. That's great ramp.
Yep.
This is a turn. You go second. You already get that advantage. You drop him in. He gets to attack. Like, you ramp. It's so cool. Worker Ant-Man. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you're right though. They're all very obvious cards, but also that's cool.
It's cool that you immediately have a pretty viable deck.
Yeah.
You could just kind of cobble it together from the Carapaces and have a pretty solid deck, and then maybe from there in play testing you figure out a little more nuance to it.
Yep. I just think, we talked about this off podcast, but tribal decks are really fun for me, right? I really it's I think it's good for games for beginners. You go it helps you kind of discover the nuances and the depth of a game at a very surface level, and so it's really fun entry. So especially in a second set, someone comes in, they're like, well, I can't really get old product, but there's a bunch of new product. They can, like you said, build a very viable deck. It makes them feel like they're putting something together that has all these combos and tricks, and it helps you understand the game subconsciously very quickly. And so I just love tribal decks.
If you buy a few booster packs and you just let's say you're brand new to the game, you buy a few booster packs and a green starter deck or something, and you just so happen to pull the queen in one of your packs, you could probably build, a Carapace deck with those cards pretty easily. You know
what else this why tribal is so good? I think it's really good for draft formats or sealed formats, limited.
Yeah.
And I would love to play Battle Spirits as a draft format. Which we kind of did that reveal, that release event we did.
Yeah, we did a sealed format there, but did you see that they added rules for draft to the tournament rules?
No, I did not.
Yeah, so it's gonna happen at some point.
That's so exciting. This game really lends itself to limited.
I don't know how we make that happen. I mean, you and I could just do it for fun.
Yeah, we have enough cards between us to build a cube, but
yeah,
I think this game really lends to it.
My extra cards is just build a cube, huh?
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
That'd be fun. Sorry.
That's it. That's all I was just wanting to say. I like these Carapace guys. I think this card is really good.
Yeah, I think he's good. I will say though, as from a tribal standpoint, have we seen, other than that one prey bird, have we seen Carapace matters?
No.
So I wonder. I would bet money. I don't know how much money, but at least $1 that we get a Carapace or Ant-Man Nexus. That's the hive.
Yeah. Or Ant Hill or Ant-Man Hill or something like that.
Yeah.
I cannot wait for that.
It probably buffs Carapaces and maybe
or
summons,
tokens.
Yeah, more tokens.
Yeah, each of your tokens in play gets plus 2,000 BP or something like that.
Yeah. Well, we get to see, unfortunately, you're not going to find out in this podcast, but tomorrow in the real world, actually, probably by the time this podcast is out, you will know whether or not my prediction was correct. But because tomorrow, I think we get to see the green nexuses.
Spoiled, baby.
I'm excited.
That's so exciting.
For today, though, cards that we do know about, Heaven's Cloak Butterfly is our next card here, and this is an Insectoid.
Good lord.
4 cost 2 reduction, spirit, level 1 for 1 core 1k, level 2 for 3 cores 5k. So somewhat similar stat line to the Fluffmingo. I guess a little bit weaker on the level 1, but it has a when summoned ability. Select one of your spirits, place a core from the void onto it. So just straight up ramp.
Oh my gosh. Green has so much good ramp.
One thing that I had a thought, and then I realized that you can't do this, so I'll just say it just in case anybody else was wondering. It costs 4, so I was like, what if you're going first and then you play this as your first turn play? Can you put the core onto it? But the when summoned ability, it has to at least be level 1 in order for that to happen at all.
So level 2 though, yes.
Yeah,
I mean, sorry, turn 2.
Yeah, if you're going second, yeah, you can do that. You can pay 4, put a core on it, and then place another core. So
you immediately have an extra core.
Yeah, if you win the die roll or however you randomly decide who goes first, like, and you decide to go second, and you see this in your hand and you kept it, like, that's a pretty solid starting move to the game.
Yeah, during your turns in that game, obviously depending on the matchup, you're 2 cores ahead of your opponent from the get-go.
Yeah.
On the ramp. That's nuts.
Yeah. All right. I'm a little upset that you get to talk about this card because I really like it.
Yeah, I know you like this one. This is a really fun one. I'll read it and then you can talk about your experience with it because you have played this against me. This is Mushrantula. Great name, great card art. Very cool. 3 cost, reduced by 1, insectoid green spirit card. Level 1 for 1 core is 2k. Level 2 for 2 cores is 3k. Level 1 and level 2 when summoned. If you spend a soul core as part of the spirit summoning cost, your opponent selects a card from their hand and discards it.
This card is just brutal.
Powerful ability. I never even really thought about discarding cards in this game, but when you start the game with only, 4 to 5 cards and then a 6th card, as in those early parts of the game, having to discard cards out of your hand is tough. And in later parts of the game, having to discard cards out of your hand is tough. So I'm worried about mill and hand discard becoming a really big thing. Green-blue decks are going to be so mean. And it all starts with this little guy right here, Mushrantula.
The game that we played was extremely unusual because both of us had so many freaking cards in our hands.
Yeah. You were playing Netherworld Depths stuff, and I was playing Blessed Cathedral yellow stuff, and
yeah,
it was
drawing
nuts.
So many cards.
But in those first couple of turns, though, I was down to nothing in my hand. Only Naumengard kind of flipped that back over for me, which again is why I really will sing the high praises of Naumengard in yellow decks.
This card is very, very good. I definitely think it's worth playing, but it is a little situational. I think that if your opponent has 3 or fewer cards in their hand, playing this is very impactful.
Yes.
If they have maybe 5 or more cards in their hand, then it's kind of they probably already have something they would be okay discarding. And then, of course, if they have no cards in their hand, then this card is just a dead card. So.
Yep, and it's kind of expensive for bad stats in late game. If you top deck this towards the end of the game, you're not happy.
Yeah, I like this ability though. So for me personally, in my play style, I would still play 4 of this, and then probably in the late game just not play it if it's not relevant. But I mean, if your opponent has a single card in their hand and then you play this, ooh, that's brutal.
Yeah. Feels bad.
I take it. All right, I'll talk about the next guy here. This is Armor Tree Deity Herek Dinas.
This thing is nuts.
Yeah, it's a giant Hercules beetle that's like a tree.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Very Kuwagamon from Digimon, that line.
Yes. Oh, I love Kuwagamon. He's
Hercules, cool. Kabuterimon, stuff like that.
7 cost, and it's reduced by 3. Insectoid Spirit. This is also an X rare, so this is the X. Another. Well, I guess it's not the Queen was a Carapace X rare, and this is an Insectoid X rare. So maybe I'm wrong about the deck. Maybe it doesn't build itself. Maybe there's like two different routes. There's like full on Carapace, and then there's full on Insectoid, and then there's like Carapace Insectoid.
Yeah, like little flashes of both.
Yeah. Well, so uh, this guy seems pretty good. So first off, the stats: level 1 for 1 core 6k, level 2 for 3 cores 7k, level 3 for 4 cores 9k. Very solid stat line. At both level 1 and at both level 2 and level 3, during either attack step, all Insectoid and Carapace spirit cards in your hand gained Swift. So you can, at flash speed, summon Carapaces and Insectoids from your hand. Very, very cool thematically, because it just means like play this dude, he like rustles up the forest, and then all these bugs start swooping into your opponent's face.
I am so in love.
Yeah, this is cool. This is definitely, you know, like I was just talking about, like Insectoid or Carapace matters kind of card.
Yeah, this card is so cool. The stat lines are honestly really fine. You're not trying to swing in with him and get him killed, but really he's just there to let you swing in the chump blockers and bring in your queen and bring in your tokens to go wide and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then he also has that level 3 ability. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah, when this spirit attacks, place 1 core from the void into your reserve. So
which lends itself to those swifts. Yeah, like it's cool, and especially with some of the other exhausting cards in the Carapace and Insectoid list, like there are opportunities where you can open up a lane for him to attack, and you get that void, and then you can flash in another character, attack again. It's cool. I think there's like, yeah, a lot of different routes you can take when building Insectoid Carapace decks now. But I think both of these X rares go hand in hand in the same deck.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think you could. I think you could. So I guess I'm retracting my earlier statement. So if you've already left an angry comment about this, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think maybe the Carapace. Maybe it's not as simple as it just builds itself. Maybe, yeah, like there are multiple lanes for you to go.
Yeah.
Like I could definitely see leaving this out of my deck if I have a very like Carapace specific strategy that like even just him not being a Carapace would kind of mess with my strategy.
Right.
But yeah, I think he's pretty solid. It kind of reminds me a little bit. The Queen and this guy kind of remind me of playing like the armored dragon dude and the elephant in white. Like,
yep.
They're kind of like, for the moment, if you're building that type of deck, there's not really much else to put at your top end, so they're pretty obvious choices.
Right.
But they're also very good, so it's not like you're really like upset about that.
Yeah. Well, in that yellow deck list that I got the inspiration from, they were running 2 Nauman guards and 2 dragon ships.
Yeah.
So I understand that. I understand being like, I'm going to top deck an 8-cost white card and be able to play it. Which one is more impactful? I'm not sure. So I'm going to have both. And honestly, they both kind of work. So yeah, in this deck, it's like you're getting to the same thing, right? You want your Insectoids and your Carapaces to be ramping for you and to be in your hand, and then either the Queen comes in and floods with tokens, or you draw Armor Tree Deity Herrick Dynus, who comes in and lets you flash in your little Carapaces and Insectoids and continue to ramp. I think, you know, a 2 of each in a green deck could be pretty good, and then you sideboard 1 more copy of each, and depending on your matchup, you take 1 out and put the other one in.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
I like them.
I definitely dig it. There's one more. Oh no, there's a couple more actually.
Yes. So this is Emerald Pincer, a 4-cost reduced by 2 Insectoid green spirit. Level 1 for 1 core it has 3k. Level 2 for 2 cores it has 4k. So reasonable ramping there. But its one summoned effect at level 1 and level 2 says select one of your opponent's spirits and exhaust it. So you pair that with that guy we just talked about. You flash in Emerald Pincer. You exhaust one of your opponent's spirits. That's good. That's really good.
I mean, that could end an attack step.
This also works with your tokens. If you have a bunch of them ready, you bring in Emerald Pincer, maybe a couple of them. You exhaust a couple of your opponent's spirits and just send in the worker ants to go wide.
Yeah. I think that this card is honestly good enough to play outside of Carapace Insectoids. Like, I think
it's good enough to play outside of green in the right situations. Yeah. I think this could be a really fun, like, if you're splashing green especially and can get those couple of reductions, this is a cool card to just drop in out of nowhere and be like, whoops, your guy's exhausted.
Yeah. The surprise element that you would get playing this outside of green would definitely be greater. I think it's harder to justify that with the stat line, but to your point, if you're doing kind of like what I was talking about earlier, where it was like 30 white, 20 red in my deck. If you're doing like 30 purple, 20 green, this could definitely be
that's
one
what
of
I'm
your 20
thinking.
green.
This splashes well in purple with cards like Core Drain, where you need them to be exhausted, or like Dark Knight Mordred, you know. Stuff like that. This card lends to that purple, those situational purple cards getting those situations a little quicker and a little easier.
Oh, this could help you get around Namengard, because you could play it, exhaust it, and then when you steal the cores off, well, it would still trigger the when destroyed ability, but at least they're not like refreshing and having this big, crazy spirit on the board.
Yep.
So I guess, it doesn't really get around Namengard, because as someone who's played with Namengard, you're just as fine with your opponent killing it. So
right.
But it at least stops them from doing that refresh BS every turn. So
true. Man, the art on this next one is so good.
Well, I actually was thinking, how do you feel about me going with Flytrap Mantis next?
Oh yeah. Do that.
And then
I'll do that one.
And then that way we end on like kind of a big one.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. So Flytrap Mantis is another insectoid here. It's a 2-cost 1 reduction insectoid. Level 1 for 1 core 3,000 and level 2 for 3 cores 5,000. So same exact stat line as Fluffmingo, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe you're right.
The only difference being that it is an insectoid, which is relevant, as are the prey bird subtype, I believe. So it just kind of depends on what you're building.
Yep. It's super cool. I like it. The text, it's textless. It references Eternal Phoenix Tequila, and that insectoid trait is what keeps this as technically a different card than Fluffmingo. I like it.
I like the art. I like the Venus Flytrap Mantis hands. That's a fun idea.
It's like Scyther, but with Venus Flytrap hands. Very cool. Yeah. Edward Venus Flytrap hands. That's the name of the episode.
Edward Venus Flytrap hands.
I like it, and I cannot stop imagining just the most stupid aggro Spring of Norn 2-cost textless rainbow deck.
Oh my gosh!
I'm gonna try to build it. I'll report back
like
soon.
Fun.
I think
you'd still have to play Freeze-a-Tall in that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Prince Pentan, but oh man, there's some cool stuff that's happening in 2-cost. My brain is like 2-cost everything. All right, so our last insectoid. Very neat card here. Map Butterfly. 0 cost. Green insectoid spirit. 0 cost. It's textless. Level 1 for 1 core, it's 1,000. Level 2 for 3 cores, it's 3,000. So nothing spectacular except the fact that this is a free body, quote unquote, in green that is insectoid. So that means you can flash this card in with the X-Rare insectoid.
Yeah, for free.
For free.
Just got to put a core on it.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I have some beef with this card.
Interesting. What's your beef?
It's has nothing to do with the actual gameplay.
Okay.
This is definitely a moth and not a butterfly.
That's very true.
See how it has the
Oh
like
yeah,
the dust around it? Like
yeah.
it's supposed to be a moth.
It's a
I don't know
moth.
what I don't know why they called it a butterfly. And also, map moth would have been alliteration in the name. They both start with M. I don't get.
Damn, you completely ruined this card for me. I'm never
I mean,
gonna think about anything else now when I look at this because you're
they
totally
also
right.
could have they also could have called it like Atlas moth, but I think that's already a moth, like a real world moth.
Yeah.
But
So that's probably the bit is that they're instead of Atlas moth, they're like, what's the opposite? Map butterfly, like Green Day, Blue Night. You know, like.
So they did this to piss me off,
Yeah.
and it's working. God damn it.
Butterfly beef. Ugh.
Uh,
But yeah.
yeah, I would not eat butterfly.
Oh, I absolutely would not either.
The wings are cool though. I like that it's like continents with like a compass on it. Like that's absurd.
Yeah, it is.
Um,
All right, we have 7 cards left after this.
yeah,
one.
sorry. Oh, we have 7 more?
We have 7 more. We have 3 in this group, and then there's another group of 4.
Oh, I didn't even know there was another. Okay, yeah, we better get going.
Yeah, we're definitely over, but you know, I'm making up for the fact that I missed our weekly upload. So strap in, baby. We've got 7 more cards to go.
Fun.
I'm having a
So
blast.
Let me know, audience. Let me know, audience. Are you having fun?
Yeah,
I'm having fun.
Do you mind if we go a little longer, or would you rather us keep it short? Let us know in absolutebsspod@gmail.com or on Twitter or on the YouTube.
We're just gonna have to sit here and wait for their response. So.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to sponsor us, this is where we could put an ad read in.
That's
so,
right.
You know.
We could break right here at the hour 11-minute mark.
Oh,
Beautiful
God.
timing.
Yeah, you better go. You better keep reading.
All right. Loyal Retainer Ezowolf. So this is giving Digimon for sure. I've been excited to see more Blade Beasts because that's just a really cool trait name. So this is a 4 cost, reduced by 2, Blade Beast Green Spirit. Level 1 for 1 core, 3000 BP. Level 2 for 3 cores, 5000 BP. At level 1 and level 2, while this spirit attacks, new keyword, Gale 1.
Oh, baby.
When this spirit is blocked, so this is while the spirit attacks, it gets Gale 1. And Gale is when this spirit is blocked, your opponent selects the specified number of refreshed spirits they control and exhausts them. So you're tapping this guy at level 1 or 2, and immediately your opponent has to choose one of their refreshed spirits and exhaust them. Can't declare them as a blocker. That's, again, really good. And I don't know what the Blade Beasts look like, but at the very least, this is a good green card to include with some of your other exhausting mechanics. Or purple.
I've looked at some of them, and I will say the Blade Beasts are looking good. It's going to be difficult to pick a style of green deck to focus on.
Each trade I've seen today has just made me want to burn all my yellow cards. Not really. I would never.
Wow. I can't believe you'd say that when we have Crocodile coming out.
Don't tell Crocodile. Don't tell Flying Turtle. Definitely don't tell Alice. But yeah.
I think that if you're going second, this is a really cool card to play. Because
Super
you can
cool.
you can just drop and in purple I could definitely see that because you exhaust their cards and now you can like core drain them or whatever.
Yep, I'm seeing a couple, and you know, maybe you just tutor in those 0 cost green moths to bring down the reduction of these, and moths work out in purple decks, you know, moths, death, blah blah blah. Green purple's going to be a fun matchup. I
just had a thought. Oh, never mind. It's a dumb thought. Never mind. We'll keep going.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, in case me leaving that open-ended bothered anybody. I wonder if Map Butterfly, the purpose of it being in the set is the fact that green did not get a 0 cost spirit in the expansion. But
oh, sure, probably.
But you know what? Those spirits are totally different, and they all do the same thing. So I don't think that's the case.
Right, but at the very least, a number, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you want to get this absolute unit of a card?
Yeah.
What
Horned Fortress, Ellis Moth.
So, that's why they didn't use moth. This guy's a moth. Doesn't he look like one?
Yeah, obviously. Can't you tell by the way his wings are flapping?
Yeah.
This is like a giant rhinoceros with like a Japanese-style castle on its back.
It's so cool.
It's pretty freaking cool. It looks like its legs are made out of stone.
Yeah, and he's like decked out, really ornated with like this gold and silver plated armor. Very neat.
Yeah, pretty sweet. 8 cost can be reduced by 3. Blade Beast. Level 1 for 1 core, 5k. Level 2 for 3 cores, 9k. Pretty awesome stats. When it's summoned at either level, select one of your spirits. It gains 3,000 BP during this turn. So you could also select itself to give it potentially up to 12k. And then at level 2, when it attacks, select one of your opponent's spirits for each of your other spirits with 4,000 or more BP and exhaust them. So if you've got like a 1k dude, you drop this, give it 3k more. Now you've got another trigger for this second ability here. So a lot of exhausting going on.
So Blade Beasts, I'm going to venture and say prematurely, because I don't know for sure. I'm going to say that Blade Beasts don't necessarily play well with the Insectoid and Carapace traits, because those feel like they're going to lean to a wider board, stretched out, cheaper stats, less cores on everything. But if you put Blade Beast, these are some of these cards that I'm like, green and white would be unstoppable, because you want to load up your cores on these guys and just make them huge walls and tanks. And then, you know, with a Blade Beast, even if you only have 3 other creatures here when this thing attacks that have 4,000 or more BP, that's 3 creatures that get exhausted just from this one card's ability. Then you have the Retainer Ezo or whatever, and you're just literally like, step aside, I'm coming right to your health.
Yep.
And that's fun. I think this is a cool card.
I think that nexuses that give like very small bonuses to all of your spirits during the attack step also become very relevant in cases like this.
I'm looking at some of these textless greens and my Spring of Norn deck and some white cards, and I'm just thinking I might need to break out the Spring of Norn deck again.
I think every set you should break out.
I think I should. Deck. Green, white. This guy in the Brandboar too from the starter deck. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, could be pretty sweet. Yeah, Brandboar likes this as well.
Yes, Brandboar and Ellis Moth. Name a more iconic duo. I'll wait.
I can't.
I know. All right.
Well, maybe actually Ellis Moth and this next guy.
Oh man. Oh my gosh.
Which, by the way, the art on this is pretty freaking cool.
Once again, want to plug our YouTube if you're not already there. But we actually are hearing from a lot of the YouTube subscribers. So first of all, hello, thank you. If you're watching the companion video on YouTube, if this is how you're getting your content. We do have a video version of this podcast. All it really is that I just flash the screens up, or the cards up on the screen as we talk about them, so you can see this really, really cool art. This is Daimyo Beast Yaiba no Kami. It is a panther with crazy cool armor. This looks like Final Fantasy has some big like lion beasts with like these kind of flourishes and stuff like that. So it definitely reminds me of something like that. This is a very cool card. 6 cost, reduced by 3, green Blade Beast Spirit. Level 1 for 1 core is 4k. Level 2 for 3 cores is 7k. And level 3 for 6 cores is 10k. Level 1, 2, and 3 during your opponent's attack step. At the start of the step, select one of your spirits with higher BP than your opponent's highest BP spirit. Place a core from the void onto it. So that's interesting. During your opponent's attack step, at level 1, 2, and 3, while this thing's on the field, at the start of that step, you select one of your spirits with higher BP than your opponent's highest BP spirit, and you get to ramp it. And then at level 2 and level 3, treat the level 1 BP as 4,000 for all of your spirits that cost 3 or fewer.
Yeah, so now this is a pretty iconic duo.
Whoa.
So he just basically says, in combination with the other dude, now all of your spirits are counted as part of.
I take it back then. They do play well with the insect tokens. You can make your insect tokens 4,000, and and you can exhaust your opponent's spirits for each token you have. What the hell?
Yeah.
Is green my new main? It's always been my favorite color.
I am definitely going to play around with green. I feel like where I'm going to land with green is probably more like a green purple build.
Yeah.
But I really want to try some mono green stuff. And who knows, maybe I end up in a mono green place.
I love the idea of it. That's a cool card. I don't have a lot more to say about that. It does. It speaks for itself. It's like, yo, this and that. Blade Beast, baby.
This is another example of just a solid card that is already just like a good card, but then, it just has some abilities that it just gets better.
Yeah. And it's
like,
going to look good on the field.
Yeah, and it's going to look sick. And it's going to be, and this is an X rare, so we might end up getting
an alt art.
Yeah, we might end up getting a Gundam alt art. Imagine that. That'd
Oh
be sweet.
my gosh.
Oh, we're definitely, well, not definitely, but we could potentially get. Do all the X rares have alts?
Not all of them, I don't think.
Oh, okay, but this one could definitely have a pretty sweet alt art, I'm sure.
Yes.
But I would love to see a Gundam of this.
I agree. All right, man. We're towards the last four. We got the
Hunger Tree,
the plant folk, and then we're getting out of here.
Yeah, Hunger Tree. This is another one of my favorite cards. Gonna sound pretty similar to another card we talked about earlier. Hunger Tree is a 4-cost 2 reduction plant folk. For 1 core, it's level 1 at 4k, and for 3 cores, it's level 2 at 6k. When it's destroyed by your opponent selects a card from their hand and discards it. So I played this with the Mushrantula.
Yeah.
Just really went all in on the hand control.
It's just mean. Like, you really, as someone who was playing against it, I'm like, I had an opportunity to kill it or like attack it and not worry if it blocked me on one turn. But the turn before and the turn before that even, I was like, I don't know if I can afford to swing right now. Because if he does block and he dies, I'm going to have to get rid of a really good card that I need to play next turn. Like, Hunger Tree is mean. I think it's really solid. And again, this is... It's good as a couple copies in your green, but it's also good splashed somewhere else. It's a cool little card. Good stats.
Also, the art is just terrifying.
Yeah, it is. It reminds me of, like, Execute from Pokemon, but evil,
like a horrific Execute.
Yeah, it's awful.
It's also, the stat line on this guy is just solid. I mean, if you just drop him and your opponent never destroys it, you're still just swinging in with a 6k dude.
Yeah, and it can cover a lot of the little guys that could be more problems if they don't cover it. Yeah, it's a great 4-drop. I'm surprised this is a 4 reduced too. They probably could have made it a 4 reduced 1.
I would still play it, yeah. I maybe wouldn't play 4 copies, but I would at least play 2 or 3.
Yeah. I agree.
All right, back to the Blade Beast, though.
Oh, yeah, we got another Blade Beast here. Whoa! Okay. Young Warrior Umpioru. Sorry if I'm sure I didn't get that right. This is a 4-cost, reduced by 3, Blade Beast Green Spirit, textless, level 1 for 1 core, 5k, level 2 for 2 cores, 6k. So let's recap.
So going in the Spring of Norn deck.
Spring of Norn, baby! Spring of Norn deck, and at level 1, so a 2-core commitment to play this if you have green on your field. 1 for the cost, 1 to keep it alive. It has 5k. It's already leaning into the other guy, the Blade Beast, the castle guy. You know who I'm talking about. We just talked about him. The 4,000, the exhaust thing. That's nuts. That's a great 4-drop. This rivals Bearded Eagle for me, and as some of my favorite textless cards, or Emperador even. That's neat.
Yeah. It's good. You can't deny. I mean, I think if you're playing green, you need to consider do I just play this card just because it's
cheap.
Solid block? Yeah, cheap, solid block, solid attack.
Yeah, I think this is an insta add, at least at 2 copies in any green build. I'm gonna be so bold as to say that.
I feel conflicted about the art on this card.
Yeah,
How do you feel about it?
it's not my favorite.
I want to like it, but also it just looks like he's like, somebody flicked a booger onto my face.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, also he like runs on all fours, so why does he have swords? Does he have opposable thumbs to be able to pull those out?
he has a bladed tail.
Yeah. Mean cat.
But I don't know if he's like shocked or attacking or.
It's kind of like the Mona Lisa too. It follows you with its eyes wherever you're looking at it. It's always looking back at you.
Well, maybe we'll get a cool alt art of that guy. I don't know.
Yeah.
That could be a cool one for a Gundam.
Oh, that could be.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this next one is so cool.
Loyal Retainer Higumaru. This is like a blade beast. It's a blade beast, but it's like a bear. Like a bear with a sword on its back and like Wolverine claws.
This might be... Yeah.
Is it a Wolverine?
Maybe it's just a Wolverine. I don't know. But
Maybe.
like, this is one of those like, okay, this might be niche. Do you have like friends that like you're trying to get into something and you're like, if I could show them one card from this game, that would completely hook them?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to do that.
Yeah. I have a friend that if I showed them this card, he'd be like, take my money. Let me build a deck around Blade Beasts and this guy is my dude. You know, like card sleeves of this guy. Yeah, this is a really neat looking card. The art is so cool, and this could definitely get a couple people I know into this game. Wow.
It's a pretty decent card too. So 3 cost 2 reduction, and it's a Blade Beast Spirit. Level 1 for 1 core 2k, level 2 for 3 cores 4k. So like it can get out of Burning Force range. But it has a when destroyed ability. Your opponent selects one of their spirits for each of your other spirits with 4,000 or more BP and exhausts them. So,
unreal.
Really playing into that 4K plus BP, stat line strat that you're going with the big fortress dude.
Yeah. So much exhaustion, and like, what a helpless feeling your opponent would have to have there, because it's like, it's when destroyed, not even like either side. Like, this could potentially be an absolute ice shield in green.
That is a good point. Yeah.
If you have enough other guys and you block with this guy first, you could end an entire attack step and exhaust all their field and just go for the win. Like, it's a face up ice shield in some situations. I think you don't get the life back, but damn, that's a good card.
Yep. And then also, what they have to consider is not just the fact that if they swing in, it could end the combat, but also then it could mess with how they block.
Yeah.
The next turn. Because then if you're swinging in with your Blade Beasts, which,
would be.
This could go outside of Blade Beast. I could see that. But if you're playing Blade Beast, he's probably in there. And, like, you're just going to exhaust more stuff. Now your opponent's wide open. Like, they need something like this to protect themselves or they're screwed.
Yeah. All right. Final card. And this is a plant folk, but it's going to reference a keyword that we saw a couple of cards ago on the Blade Beast. This is Fanglord Tree Rafflegio, or Rafflesia. How would you pronounce that?
I think Rafflegio or Rafflegio, maybe?
Rafflegio.
This is one of those giant like plant flower things that smells like rotting meat.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
Butterfly beef.
Butterfly beef.
So this is a 7 cost, reduced by 3, plant folk green spirit card. Not X rare, my bad. So just rare. Level 1 for 1 core.
It kind of looks like it would be an X rare, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. I was actually surprised. I'm like, is this the plant folk baddie? But I guess we don't have one yet. Level 1, 1 core, 5k. Level 2, 3 cores, 7k. And level 3, 5 cores, 9k. So nice clean stats and progression. At level 1, 2, and 3, while this spirit attacks, Gale 2. So when the spirit is blocked, your opponent selects the specified number of refreshed spirits they control, in this case 2, and exhausts them. And at level 3, while this spirit attacks, when this spirit's attack reduces your opponent's life, select one of your opponent's spirits and exhaust it.
So basically, it says your opponent pretty much has to block this.
Yep. It's a new fancy workaround confront in green, basically.
Yeah.
But it's another one of those helpless feelings where it's like, if they only have 2 and you drop this, you exhaust both of them, you hit them, and you don't even care about that while the spirit attacks level 3. It's weird.
I might be premature in saying this, but it really feels like green is going to fundamentally change the way in which you play this game.
I agree completely.
Like, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I think that the meta is going to have to really shift and evolve pretty heavily when the set comes out. I mean, I think that was kind of already to be expected, because anytime you get a new, like, you know, injection of like new cards, like the meta is going to shake up because there's new exciting cards to play. But this is not just about like, oh, swapping out some cards in my deck that was already pretty good. This is like, you have to be prepared to, like, if your opponent can exhaust all of your spirits and they have 7 spirits out, what do you do?
Yeah, you're dead. Unless, like, I think we're going to see a rise of bouncing. I think we're going to see more of the exhaust kill purple stuff. Like, yeah, the meta is definitely going to shift hard. And the thing about a whole new color coming in is it's not a one-trick pony by any means. There, as we've just seen today, there are so many different green builds and green splashes that, this game is just busting wide open as far as like how you play it and how you build your decks and what's going in your sideboard and when you're attacking, when you're even setting a burst card or holding it back, like we talked about earlier. Like, everything is changing. And then we get to do this again later down the road when blue comes in.
Yep.
And it's incredible.
Blue is gonna have mill and stuff, so I'm interested to see if that changes the deck sizes. Like, do people go all the way up to 60?
Yeah, because at first I was like, why is it allowed 5260 with a 10-card sideboard? But it's going to make a lot more sense once blue comes in, too. I mean, even it already does now with that rule we talked about. When you go to time, it's how many cards are left in your deck.
Yeah, I'll let Angel talk about that more when he comes on the show, but that became relevant at the Grand Open for him as well.
Yeah. Wow.
So
I'm excited. I'm just so impressed with everything we've seen in green. I didn't know I could get so excited about all the archetypes in a color. Because, like, the other 4 right now, it's like, I'm not really interested in bounce. I'm not really interested in the Star Dragons. It's a little clunky and confusing for me. Even in yellow, it's like, I don't care about luster. That's not my play style. But green, I'm looking at these and I'm like, what do I do? They're so fun.
So, do we want to do that segment we talked about?
Let's do it real quick.
All right. I'm just going to, this is our first time. We've done this in the past, but now we're doing it as an official segment. So I'm going to say, Cam, what time is it?
It's time for Champ or Chump.
Woo!
Bam, bam, bam.
I'm assuming there will be some kind of sound effect in there.
Yeah. No, I'm going to leave it just empty.
So what we're going to do with Champ or Chump, we're going to give each other 1 card, and the person who is being asked about that card has to rate it as either Champ or as Chump. Champ meaning they think it's a fantastic card, really solid card. Theoretically, it should be the best of the best, get the Champ status. And then if a card falls short, then it's going to be a Chump. So,
yes.
Do you want me to start?
I would love for you to start, yes.
Okay, cool. I want to ask you, Champ or Chump on Mushrantula?
Mushrantula.
I want your opinion on that one. I know we've already talked about it a little bit, but I want your full assessment of Mushrantula.
I'm not gonna.
For
Yeah, go for it.
context, Mushrantula is when summoned, if you spend a soul core, your opponent selects a card from their hand and discards it, and it's just like a little spirit.
Yep, 3 cost, 1 reduction. Level 1, 1 core, 2k. Level 2, 2 cores, 3k. I got it up on the screen too.
Cool.
And I'm gonna instate this rule now. We can't go, it depends. We have to definitively say champ or chump. And I lean more towards chump. And this is why. I think discarding is a very powerful ability in general, in any card game. The less cards your opponent has in their hand, obviously, the less options they have, and the better your chances are during that game, or at least during that moment. I don't think there's enough discarding to make this champ status where it's like, I'm throwing this in every deck. And I just think about in a game where the deck minimum is 50 and you only see 4 cards at the beginning of the game as your starting hand. I think more often than not, and this is just my opinion, more often than not, Mushrantula is going to come out at a time where I wish to God that I drew something else.
Yeah, I could see that.
So that is why, for me, I'm going to lean towards chump for Mushrantula.
Nice. That's why I wanted to ask you about it, because I figured you'd have a very different opinion.
Yeah, we always do.
I love this style of cards, so I feel very differently. But I can also see exactly what you're saying, because I think those weaknesses to it it's a pretty big gamble.
Something to think about.
Yeah, I think if you, it's when you get to that point in the game where you're top decking stuff, this is probably not what you want to top deck.
I agree.
All right. What do you got for me?
Mine for you, interestingly enough, is the other card that discards, Hunger Tree. So champ or chump for Hunger Tree. A 4 cost plant folk, reduced by 2, 1 core 4k, 3 cores 6k. When destroyed by opponent, your opponent selects a card from their hand and discards it.
I am going to give you a surprising answer here, I think.
Okay.
I'm going to say chump.
That is surprising.
and the reason for that is the fact that it has to be destroyed by your opponent for that ability to trigger means that you're putting the power, the ability of this card is within the hands of your opponent. Your opponent gets to decide when this happens.
Yep.
And so they are going to very strategically decide when it is the appropriate time to get rid of this. And I think that makes it lean more towards chump.
I would agree with you 100% on those terms, for sure.
I think the factor here that is just impossible to measure, which is why I can't place it in champ, because it's just like the Mushrantula. It's a bit of a gambling card,
for sure.
Which I think is really fun. I really like it.
Yeah, but it can be impactful 10 times out of 100.
Yeah, it's an impactful and very fun card. Some of the time.
Some of the time, yeah.
But that's the problem with it, I think, is that your opponent gets to choose when this happens, and I think that's gonna lean it more towards into chump territory for me.
Mm-hmm. I think also this is a card that's gonna excite a lot of people, and we're gonna see a lot of play of it anyway. And I learned in card games a long time ago, especially playing Keyforge, where like I can't control what's in my opponent's deck or in my own, so you have to play around targets. And so the cards where it's like, I put the ball in your court now, what that means is they already have a predetermined outcome, how they think this card is going to make you react. So I agree that it's a skill test card in the sense that it does give your opponent all the control. And to me, if I'm that opponent and I'm getting that control, I love that.
Yeah.
And that, it's probably just some kind of defiance in me, but it pushes me to want to find the best solution. So there's a card in Keyforge called Harbinger of Doom. And if none of you know about Keyforge, I'll try to just really keep this simple. Basically, it's a creature that can be difficult to kill, depending on the deck. But when it is killed, it destroys every other creature on the board. So it's a board wipe on a stick. And so in Keyforge, if you leave your opponent's creatures on the field, they're able to generate the currency that you need to win the game. So it's one of those cards where it's like, I'm going to slap down Harbinger of Doom, and now my opponent, at any time, this is a threat on the board. So what do? Do they get rid of it now? Do they leave it on the board and allow me to use it? Or do I get to decide? Because odds are, if it's in your Keyforge deck, you're going to have cards that were algorithmically thrown in there that are going to combo with that card to a timing that you wanted. So when I see Harbinger come down on my opponent's side of the field, I'm targeting that one immediately, because I don't want them to have that opportunity to combo it for their schedule. So Hunger Tree, to me, is exactly like one of those cards. And so I would also, you know, on any other day, if we weren't talking Chump or Champ, I'm still saying it's a great card. The stat lines are great. The ability is good. It does have that caveat.
I'm definitely going to be building decks with 4 copies of this.
Absolutely. And I've already played against him, and he can be very impactful in certain points. But I would agree with you. I couldn't call him a champ.
Yeah. So that was like the man. I keep wanting to say like one more thing about it, and then it keeps escaping from me. But I think it's a really fun card. But yeah, I think anytime you're giving that much power in your opponent's hands to make the decision about when this ability triggers. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. I do think there's an unknown factor with this card, which is it will change your opponent's behavior, and whether or not that behavioral change is beneficial to you or not is almost impossible to know.
Yes.
So like if you're play testing with this card, your opponent is like changing, like if you're playing with this card, your opponent is changing their behavior around it, but it's impossible really for you to know unless you have a discussion with your opponent afterwards about that specific card.
Yeah.
What it was stopping them from doing, or what decisions they made differently because this card was out. So
yeah,
it's a really difficult card to like play test with and know how impactful it really is, because I don't know. I think that also kind of plays into the power level of it, though, in that
I agree.
It makes your opponent do weird stuff that they maybe wouldn't normally do otherwise. But
I talk a lot about skill testing cards for yourself in a deck that like you're building, and you put it in, and it's like there's depth to this card other than what's just written here, you know, and that's like finding out what it is. But this card gives your opponent that chance to either show that they're maybe a little more experienced with, say, the game itself, or just green in general, or this card. So it's really good at the beginning of a release. It's also really good in draft, I think. But as the set matures, I think this card gets worse and worse, because people, as a collective and with the internet, you know, we're going to have like answers to little weird edge cards like this. And so what really it becomes, and the point that we're beating over and over again, is that it's a skill test card for your opponent, and you're making a gamble that says, if they're good at this game, you kind of wasted a turn.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're going to your fun little, like, you know, friendly local game store playing some games, like, you might get some really fun wins with this card, but if you're going to like a grand open or something, like, people just play around this.
Yeah. Yep, that's it. That's where I think we land with that. I love it.
All right.
It's a cool card. Green is fascinating. This has been a very, very fun episode. Either sorry for going too long, or you're welcome for going a little longer. If you made it all the way to the end of this episode, we want to thank you very much for continuing to support us. This is our 6th episode. We've gotten over 100 plays on Spotify for the first 5, so that means we're like averaging 20 an episode, so thank you. Thank you to everyone who has participated in the polls on the end of the Spotify episodes. That's apparently a thing that I can do. So if you're listening on Spotify right now, or if you're not and you want to participate, I put up a Q&A and a poll that lasts for a week after the episode is released that you can participate in. And usually it's something like, which archetype are you more excited about? Or do you agree, champ or chump on this card? So if you want to hop over there, I don't know exactly how it works, like if it just pops up while you're listening or not, but check out Absolute BSS Pod on Spotify for those little questions and interactions. Or you can always interact with us on our Twitter, Absolute BSS Pod, and you can email us, absolutebsspod@gmail.com. And you can leave comments on the YouTube version of this podcast. And you can also see all the pretty cards that we're freaking out about, Queen and Train. So thank you to everyone who's listened.
Shout out to Queen and Train specifically.
Yes. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed to the YouTube and has left some comments. We also have some other videos on there. A gameplay video went up, and someone commented and was like, cool to see some gameplay from you guys. Thanks for your insight. And that's really fun. So, yeah, we would love to keep the conversation going between episodes. And we plan on releasing some more soon.
I think the core of this show, and this is something you and I talked about, is we're just trying to make something that we would want to listen to, because I love listening to podcasts about card games I'm into. So hopefully you all are enjoying it, and really appreciate you being here listening.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Absolute BSS. You already know where to find us and where to contact us. We'll be back with another episode soon. But yeah, I'm Cameron.
And I'm Eric.
Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.
See ya.